Hello, welcome back to GOT. Today we're going to talk about a new phone coming out with Samsung, and that's the Samsung 25 Edge. I guess it's an S25 Edge, and it's right here in the center. Wait a minute. Check this out. There you go. That's the Edge. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's get to it. Now, you see, we've got the full lineup here of the Samsung products. You got the S25, S25 Plus, the new Edge, the S25 Ultra, and of course, the Z Fold 6 right here, soon to be the Z Fold 7. But today, we're going to focus in on the S25 Edge. So the S25 Edge is their new product, new lineup that's coming out this year. Matter of fact, I believe it's coming out next month. Now, they gave a sneak peek at the S25 release event, and since then, we got a lot of information about the phone, and one of them is being that this is going to replace the S26 Plus in the next generation phones. But as you can see, it's got its own release. Now, I don't quite understand what the separation is for this, other than to compete with some of the other players out there like Apple with their Apple iPhone 17 Air. So let's go through some specs and talk about my first impression of the Samsung S25 Edge. First off, as you saw here in the intro, it looks very much like the iPhone 16 Plus with its vertical camera setup, just the two cameras. Now, here's some things. You've got a two-camera lineup. Of course, one is going to be the 200 megapixel camera that they really promote in their Samsung S25 Ultra, and what's now going to be in their new Z Fold, a 200 megapixel camera. Now, along with that, the second camera is going to be pretty impressive. It's going to be a 50 megapixel ultra wide. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the first 50 megapixel ultra wide in any of their phones, because all the rest of them were, I believe, just 10 megapixels. So 50 is a huge jump, but I'm not quite sure that that's holding true. It might end up being a 12 megapixel. We'll have to wait and see on that one. And then the selfie camera on the front is going to be a 12 megapixel camera. Now, the size of this is going to be somewhere in between the S25 and the S25 Ultra. This one, I believe, is going to be a 6.8, which you have a 6.7 in the S25 Plus and a 6.9 in the Ultra. But what's really different about this one is it's quite a bit thinner than the rest of them. This one's going to be, I believe, a 5.8 millimeter in thickness, so it's quite a bit thinner. So actually, it's going to be right in the middle, or actually closer to the Z Fold 6, which is 5.6 millimeters thick, and this one being a 7.2 millimeters thick. So you could probably see right there in the camera, quite a bit thinner. 5.8 and 5.6, you may not see a whole lot of difference. So it's going to be a pretty thin phone. Hey, I want to take a quick second and thank you for watching this first impression on the S25 Edge. If you feel you're getting good information out of this video, please smash that like button down below. It does really help out the channel, helps me put together more good quality videos for you. Now that's out of the way, back to the video. So the screen on the S25 Edge is actually a lower quality, whereas on the S25 Plus, you do get the 2K screen that you get on the S25 Ultra, which is twice the pixels that you get on this thing, which is going to be a 1080p screen, similar to that of the S25 standard phone. Now, other than that, the difference in the look is going to be the cameras just having 2 versus 3. Now, the S25 Edge is going to come out with the same Snapdragon Elite chips that you find on the rest of the 25 series. So that's really great. And it's going to come out with 12 gigabytes of RAM, just like the rest of the phones. Now, I believe you're going to be able to get this with 128 gigabytes of storage up to 256. I don't know that they're making a 512 version, so the standard will be 128 gigabytes of storage. Now, this is also a downgrade as far as battery from the S25 Plus, because it's got a 25 watt charging in it for wired and just a 15 watt for wireless, and a smaller 3900 watt hour battery versus a 4900 watt hour battery that you get in the S25 Plus. Now, it does have the same in-display fingerprint scanner as the rest of the phones, and it is IP68 water and dust resistant, just like the others. So a good question is, what is the main ploy to this camera? What is the draw versus getting the Samsung S25 Plus? Because the S25 Plus has better hardware pretty much all around, as well as an extra camera that you don't get in this S25 Edge. Well, I believe their draw or their marketing plan is the thinness. This thing being thinner than the rest of their bar phones, and the fact that it has a 200 megapixel camera. A 200 megapixel camera, in my view, is not that big of a deal. And I believe that the ultra wide is actually going to be a 12 megapixel, not the 50 that you might see advertised elsewhere. Because that'll just save them money, because that's the same camera they have on all the other phones. So is there any new technology in this phone? No, it's the same 200 megapixel they have in the Ultra and that they're going to put in the Z Fold 7. And it's the same 12 megapixel ultra wide that's in all the other phones. Now they're saying this thing will have a 10 times zoom, but it'll be digital because you don't want to miss out on zoom. Although 10 times zoom may not be all that well. I can show you here, you've got a 200 megapixel image. And I'll go ahead and crop it to simulate the 10 times zoom because that's what they're going to do. And this is what you'll get with a 10 times zoom, which really is all they're doing is cropping the image. So how many people is Samsung going to lure in with this Samsung Edge being such a thin and light phone? Because this is going to be quite a bit lighter than the S25 Plus. The S25 Plus is 190 grams. This is going to be 160 grams. So it's going to feel a little bit lighter. It's going to feel a little bit smaller because it's thin. Now, where this is very similar to the S25 Plus is going to be in price. I believe this is going to start out right around the same price at $999 for 128 gigabyte storage. Now, I don't recommend anybody get 128 gigabyte storage these days. You need to start at minimum at 256. So that's going to be a higher end. So this thing's probably going to be around $1,100 to get really a good entry-level model. So now you're actually paying the same price you would for S25 Plus. So my first impression is that this thing is not going to be a big seller. It's not really filling a hole that's been in the market. And from what I understand as well is it's actually going to be a limited run. So there's not going to be that many made. So if you want one, you better order it right away because it's not going to be widely dispersed. So I want to hear from you. What do you think? Is this an allure to you? Is this filling a hole in the market? Let me know down in the comments below. Is this the Samsung phone you've been waiting for? Probably not. Or are you just going to wait for the Z Fold 7? But I do want to give you this cautionary view. Beware of the 200 megapixel camera. It's not all that you might think it is. If you want to see more details on the 200 megapixel camera, check out this video here. Until next time, God bless.